Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of He Say, She Say. This is Mark sitting alongside.
Hey everybody, this is Tiana. How are you? Hope all is well.
Okay, this week we got a very, very special show for you guys, and we got two special guests in the house. I'm gonna allow them to introduce themselves, but first, I want to drop on y'all the subject matter for this week. This week, we'll be talking about co-parenting. It's a topic that everybody has an opinion on. A lot of us have experienced it and lived through it. So we got two subject matter experts, so to speak, here. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna let the lady introduce herself first.
Of course.
Marlena Savoy.
Marlena Savoy, and
Just plain old polo.
don't let them fool y'all. That's Polo the Don. In case, for those of you from TGD, you know Polo. So, one thing I'd like to ask our guests to do, if this is a weird way to do it, to explain your qualifications on this matter. What qualifies you to be on this panel on our show tonight to speak on co-parenting?
Well, I have 4 children, 3 biological, 1 stepchild, but don't like to use the term step.
Right.
I agree.
So I have 4 children.
Okay. And Polo?
On the subject of co-parenting, I co-parent with 3 wonderful women. So
And how many kids do you have?
I have 3 allegedly.
That's a whole nother story, Paul.
Yeah,
A
depends
whole
on who
nother
you
show,
ask. I
Paul.
got
Yeah.
3. We're gonna hold on 3.
Somebody's been busy, y'all. And he might be looking for another.
Yeah, I'm always looking.
Okay, so before we get into tonight's subject matter, we're gonna set up the format for the show. So for the first half of the show, we're gonna allow these two to speak, and wherever the questions and the dialogue takes us, that's the direction we're gonna go in. The second half of the show, we'd like to welcome your input. The phone lines will be open. You can call in as per usual. We just ask that you keep the calls to a minimum, to about a minute, so we can let other people call in, because last week we had a problem operating the lines, people wanting to call in, so forth and so on. So having said that, I first want to ask you, whoever wants to go first, if you could please define co-parenting for us in your mind.
In my mind, co-parenting just pretty much means that we share the responsibilities of parenting. Just it doesn't necessarily have to be, well, more or less it takes a village to raise a child. So any and all are welcome and help.
Now, I can't help but be blinded by that ring you have on. So you are married.
I am married.
That's
All
right. That's
3
wonderful.
biological are from the product of the marriage?
First marriage.
First marriage.
This is my second marriage.
Second marriage. And that's where the stepchild comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, you are an expert on co-parenting.
Mhm.
We'll be tapping your resource a whole lot tonight. And Polo,
Yo,
can you define your co-parenting situation?
co-parenting is 2 people that share a child, whether biological or other. And look, listen, kids are without actually thinking about a better way to say this, kids are an investment or a business that you and another adult, venture into. So both of y'all investing your time, your money, your resources, your love, all these things into that person, and y'all have to do it together. So that's what co-parenting is.
Okay, so off the bat, and this question was posed today on Facebook, and I just want to know, what are some of the obstacles in co-parenting if both of y'all aren't in the same household?
I mean, off the top, it's rules. Getting on the same page with rules. First thing comes to mind is bedtime. You might come to my house and say, "Hey, bedtime's 9 o'clock." But over at mommy's house, y'all staying up 10, 11, 12 o'clock. And that's not to say that's what I necessarily go through. I'm not, slandering any of all the baby mothers I have in the world. But what I'm saying is that's the first thing that comes to mind. Rules. And that's a serious thing. Like, when co-parenting, y'all need to have an open dialogue and try to get rules the same from household to household.
Is it because the children are adjusting?
Adjusted. You know what? I don't want to use the word adjusted because kids are slick. They smarter than us. Let's keep it real. Kids smarter than us, man.
Right.
They're not adjusting.
They could be playing you.
They twisting the rules. You know, they know mommy gonna let them stay up till 11 o'clock. They gonna want to be at mommy's house. You understand what I'm saying? They know mommy gonna let you play with Nintendo. I said Nintendo. I sound old. That's crazy.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
The kids, they gonna, mommy gonna let you stay up a little longer to do this and that. That's what they gonna want to be. They gonna play that to their advantage. So, yeah, that's what it is.
Now, I have an interesting question for you, Polo.
Okay.
Since you're so prolific in your baby making, when these co-parenting situations, when you were with each lady, did they start off as a plan were these kids planned or it just happened and you made the best of it? First of all, what are the ages of the kids?
My oldest is 11. I have a boy, 11. He's going into middle school this year. His first year in middle school. It's our first year in middle school.
Right.
I have another daughter. She just turned 8, London. Let me say their names. Let me
Yeah.
shout them out a little bit. Jamari, that's my first child. He's 11. London, 8. And my daughter, Madeline, will be 2 September 15th.
Oh, so you spaced them out. Okay. That's good.
It's spaced out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to if you can, if you feel like expanding on like without giving the dynamic, or we don't need the history, but like was each situation different as to how you ended up being in a co-parent situation? And
I think each situation was different. Definitely my first situation with my son, my oldest. Me and his mom were together for a few years. She was very young. She was 19 when she gave birth to my son. I was 23. I was young myself, but at the same time, I dove in head first, where she wasn't really ready to do that, and that was apparent immediately. Once he was born, I had him the majority of the time. Well, and I don't want to just say I, because my mother helped me.
Tremendous.
A tremendous. That's a good word.
like she said, it takes a village.
Right. That was part of my village right there. So, so that situation was different from the other two. Whereas, like my second child, my daughter, me and her mother were together for a number of years. But we worked together. We were in a relationship still while we had the child, and that fizzled or whatever. But yeah, I think they're different in different ways.
Still no problem. So you co-parent well together. That's correct.
I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I'm blessed. I'm whatever it is out there, y'all listening. Whatever y'all believe in, I'm that. You know what I'm saying? The good part, because I have friends that talk to me daily, and they come to me for advice and things of that nature. And some of their stories, Jesus, they're horrible. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm thankful.
I mean,
they could have dragged, and it's crazy because I say they could have dragged me through the system if they wanted to. But at the same time, my first child, I could have dragged, his mother through the system if I really, wanted to press the issue. But me, of course, don't really work out, so I stayed away from that.
Well, apparently you're taking care of business, and there's no need to get help to get you to take care of business.
Yeah.
And then there can be an understanding if you have an off month, if problems happen. I would think if you're dealing with rational. Now I know kids don't accept excuses, but you're not dealing with them. You're dealing directly with the mother,
exactly.
And then you'll find a way to work that out if the parents can. So you sound like you have an ideal situation. I was hoping it wasn't, not to be mean. I was hoping it's a little bit more cantankerous, just for the show's sake, that we could have some fun. But
it's not.
you Savoy look like she don't have any problems over there, do you?
I have major problems.
Oh,
You've had or
yes,
had?
yes.
Well, please speak.
So my co-parenting is ideal more in my second marriage, with my husband helping with my 3. The first husband, their father, a mess. If I had a machine to time travel, and I love my babies the way I love them with everything I have, I would go back and erase that moment, those 3 moments.
Or him.
There you go.
You keep them and erase him.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now I don't really speak. I don't speak fluid. So what do you mean by a mess? You said. Is it too much to put into words?
No. Mama's boy.
Okay.
So co-parenting was more or less with his mother, not him. So when he fell short of doing any and everything, he didn't have to. His parents or his mom stepped in. You have somebody that just to be vengeful, who does absolutely nothing, doesn't want to do anything, and He's a Lord. He's a bum in every sense of the word. However, he works. He will go to work. He does have a job. He has his own home. But outside of that, if it's not a video game, a remote control car, he's not doing it.
So is it fair to say that some men who make children are not dads?
No, absolutely not. Nope.
He can make them, but just couldn't raise them.
Exactly.
What do you think that was a product of? A product of the situation he grew up in from, or?
No, because his parents, very good parents, were married for maybe 40 plus years until his father passed. And his father was very hands-on, very much a man, sweetheart. But
so that's what you thought you were getting.
That's what I thought I was getting. And in all honesty, I waited for him to grow up and be like his father because, men tend to be a little slower. So I said, it'll get there. It never got there. In fact, he's 4 years older than me and still hasn't gotten there.
Really?
That kind of leads to the question where you think that because you were raised with both parents, you should know better. And to me, that's a prime example. He had both of his parents. She just said he had a good father. So he was raised properly. He had the perfect example of what a father should be.
Right.
And he still chose otherwise. That's why I say you can't always think that just because you was raised with both your parents that you are going to be a good parent yourself.
Nope.
No. That's the hope.
That is the hope.
And that's what we aspire to do, right?
Yeah.
Because
some of us aspire to do, but apparently he didn't.
No.
Yeah. Apparently he did. He fell short. Now, was he young when he stepped? Because I find this very interesting. Was he young when you guys first started having kids?
Yeah, he was young, but he's 4 years older than me. So I was 15. But even still, he is 44.
And he's still that way.
He'll tell you he does everything for his kids. He does absolutely nothing. And as a matter of fact, and even being nice, not trying to take him to the system. And my husband listening, I know he's having a fit now.
Oh,
just trying to let him do what it is that he's supposed to do. Did child support. He got an attorney and pushed and fought to not pay child support
at all.
And even after doing, because it's not always about the money. It's about the time and spent or what have you. And even and my husband is having a fit again, the bare minimum that I agreed to let him pay versus the maximum that he could be paying for the money that he makes. He didn't want to pay that and even went as far as to file for custody.
Just so he wouldn't have to pay you any money.
Okay, so this is very, very interesting because, like I said, the answers will lead us in the direction that we're going to go in tonight. How do I put this? So he wanted to have strangers in his home because he was never there just to keep you from getting money. Now, yes. I find this very interesting because...
but it's very common.
What's common?
That situation.
No, because I want to shout out your husband, number one, because it takes a special man to be involved in that situation for this reason, because both of y'all are carrying the burden because the kids live with you.
Yes.
Okay, so majority of the time since he wasn't doing this, pulling his weight, right?
All the time.
Oh, never saw them.
No.
And
well, no. Let me take that back. You said never saw.
Here and there.
He saw them here and there. If there was something going on that he wanted to do,
right.
You want to see a kids movie, then what do? You take your kids,
right?
Because you don't want to be a grown man walking into see a kids movie by yourself.
Find the door,
yeah.
Right, because I think that's a question on the co-parenting situation, because I guess I'm gonna lean towards your social lives, both of you. Does it make it difficult? Well, you're married, so you hit the jackpot. But does it make it difficult in your social life to navigate having 3 kids and your situation? Even though I feel like the answer would be different if you were a female.
Difficult? I don't know. It's definitely more than just being free. When you don't have children. I know when my son was, like I said, I really co-parented. We talk going back to co-parenting. I co-parented with my own mother. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
His mother really wasn't there in the early years. Not really like that. So, having a social life, yeah, it was difficult. You know, it was times, you know, I had my son. I want, you know, my friends are going. They don't have kids. I'm 23. My friends are my age or a little younger.
Right.
And we going to the go-go. They, you know, things like that, and I can't go because my mother doesn't want. You know, nah, I'm not watching him this week or
right.
And I never threw a hissy fit. I never was like, oh, this, you know, this is messed up, whatever. Right. This is my responsibility. Cool. All you gotta do is tell me no, and I know that's my responsibility. Cool, that's fine. You know, it's worth a shot. Me asking, not say, right. You know, the worst thing they can say is no, and she said no. Sometimes, you know. That's what it was.
Ladies out there, I'd be interested to hear your input on this because I've always felt like a single man with kids versus a single woman with kids is very different because in most cases, the kids are with the mother majority of the times. So even though a woman might say she don't want to date a man with kids, the kids don't really alter the dating situation except for maybe other the weekend, a few evenings. But when you're the woman and you have the kids with you, let's say 75% of the time, you got to navigate around that to get out. So later on, when we open the phone lines, you guys, if you want to call in and enlighten me on that situation, because I will give you an anecdote. Well, not an anecdote. I'll give you some insight into me. And I'm not proud of this, but once upon a time, I used to only look for single mothers because I felt like they couldn't afford to BS me. So if I'm going to deal with you and I get you out one time, right? And you enjoy me, which you will, and you want to see me again, you're going to find a way. You can't get free all the time. So you can't slow walk me as far as me getting to the spot I want. Right. So the next time I see you, which might be 3 weeks later, you got to shoot your wad. But the girls who are free every night, they can slow walk you and make you go to Fridays and go to all this stuff and go to the movies. And it might take 3 months. In the meantime, my life wasn't stopping because, you know, I might have a couple single mother charities going on.
I'm just the opposite. I find it difficult to date men who are amazing fathers and who co-parent because I don't have children. So my time is my time. And when I want to go, I want to go. You know, it's hard to hear, oh, I got the kids tonight or I got the kids this weekend. And it's a little, I mean, I respect it. And I would never date a man who does not take care of his children. So for me, it's a catch-22. It's a damn if you do, damn if you don't. You know, on one hand, I want my freedom. I'm a little selfish with the men that I date versus I know he has to be with his children. So that's kind of where I have
and a little selfish is an understatement. Because on something like that, what bigger proof would you want, though?
Exactly.
As far as what? What do you mean?
Because you can't honestly know. You can think you know, but you don't know what type of what type of father somebody's going to be. You got the proof at least.
Well, that's not all I want out of a man. I don't want him to just be a father. I need a boyfriend and a husband. I think a man is both a husband, a boyfriend, and a father. He's a whole bunch of things. But if all I'm getting is just a dad, then how do I be a part of his life if all I'm getting is just a dad?
She's the expert.
You understand what I'm saying? If all I'm getting is just the dad side
but if you're
of
getting
life,
the dad side of life and he's taking care of his kids, then you know he's gonna handle his business. So if he's taking care of his kids, you're not gonna want for anything because you know what his priorities are. And then when you have kids, then you know he's gonna be that same father that you saw.
Possibly. I've seen situations where fathers are good to one mom and horrible to another.
But then you have to ask, what happened?
That might be a product of the relationship that he had with that particular woman. You know, people harbor a lot of ill feelings towards people. I don't think I'm really. I don't forget a lot of the things that I went through, and I'm sure they don't forget the things that maybe I put them through. But
I'm sure you put them
some people, you know, I'm not actively carrying it like, yeah, you know, that's 2006 you did this. I'm over it. Like as long as you know, like I was telling you, my son, you know, I had him early years, you know, up until he was like 9. He's 11 now, and now he lives with his mom, and I trust her now with him. For a while, I used to worry because I don't think she was making the best decision. I don't. If she was being objective and honest, I think she would say that the same thing too. She it was the time she wasn't making the best decision. I think now she is, so I trust her with my son now, you know. So things change, people change.
And he's older now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's a big boy, so
yeah.
that toddler stage, I believe, is probably really.
No, because I'm pretty sure my ex-husband, father of my 3 children, still calls me bitch. And I'm pretty sure this is
why
what
would he? Sound like he had a good deal.
He did, but when you walk away from good deals, somebody has to lose. So, and from what my daughter tells me, and I gotta shout out my babies too.
Yeah, shout them out.
It's Brittany, she's the oldest. There's Jamal, he's my oldest son, and Brianna, she's at North Carolina A&T. She just went back. Jamal's at UMBC, and Brian, who is the baby, he's 13. He'll be 14 soon. But with him, Brittany tells me that her dad, when I call, text, what have you, Webby's baby mama calls. I've never been anybody's baby mama. I'm the mother of his children. So if that's what you're calling me, then that's the respect right there. You don't have to like me. We don't have to be friends, but we have to model behaviors for our children. So you have to respect me as being the mother of your children, because no matter how I feel about him, he gave me the 3 most precious gifts that I could ever have or want. And it's the same with him. I gave him the same in return.
And a PlayStation.
No, he bought all that himself. PlayStation, Xbox, you name it, he got it all.
Hey, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. Do you mind if I touch on something?
No, go ahead.
Something you guys said earlier. I think you were talking about her ex-husband's. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But y'all talking about you expect somebody to kind of absorb. If you have 2 parents in the household, you kind of expect them to be that way. I think she said that about the father. She kind of expect him to be the sweetheart. I kind of have the opposite. My father wasn't around. I've seen him a year here, 8 years later, and he just popped up maybe a few months ago. Here and there, I seen it. He never was a factor in my life. But people ask me, yo, you think that made you a better father? Did that make you be in your children's lives, more? And I used to be like, yeah, maybe so. You know what I'm saying? But I realized this. My mother she had got married when I was like 6 or so, and she had my sister. So she's married to my stepfather, etc. But he wasn't, once they broke up, they got divorced, he wasn't around. And I think actually him not being around actually made me the father that I am today, because that's when I first got my experience. 7 years old, my mom has this baby, and I'm there with her, helping her take care of this child. So I think in some cases, probably your father not being there, or, you learn what not to do, run away from your responsibilities. But in my situation, it was my stepfather not being there, and I got hands-on experience with children, early on.
That's interesting that you say that, because I would think, like you said, it would make you. I think a lot of times in some situations from a 2-parent household, you can take that for granted. Mm-hmm. And some things become intuitive through observation, but if you're not paying attention, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to the little nuances that are work, to the little roles that, you said the father was very hands-on. Well, him being very hands-on at some point should have been passed down. Some of those duties should have been passed down, as far as responsibility. He might have been, and honestly, to be very honest, it takes a lot to make a man. So not everybody wants to man up.
Not everybody wants to be a man.
Not everybody. I mean, like, to man up. Let me tell you something. If a man is doing all that he's supposed to do, you will be at his funeral. He won't be at yours. That's why we die first. The responsibilities we take on, if we do it, if nowadays, I know somebody's gonna have something to say about that, but if there's a reason.
As a parent, are you just busy raising your child, or are you consciously thinking that I want my daughters to be good moms? Like, is that ever a thought, or are you just raising your child?
I'm raising my child, because if I do what I'm supposed to do as a parent and as a woman, then it's no question in my mind where my kids will be. My oldest daughter is 24. She's still at home. It starts from infancy. I've always said to her, and even though I was a young parent, and I did live with my parents for maybe about 2 years here and there, maybe up until she was about 2 or 3 years old. Grandkids don't live with grandparents unless something happens. And because I was a young mom, I instill that upon her, because I don't know who she's going to get. I don't know who she's going to get, and I want her to be conscious and think, because I made the mistake of not choosing properly before I had kids and not taking all that into effect. If I can show if my kids can learn through my mistakes, even with my son, most men want women like their mother.
Absolutely.
So if your mother's not there, or your mother's, what's the word, bullshit, then that's what you're going to end up with. And then you have life's regrets. So
there's hopes out there for you ladies. So
if I can be that example for my daughters as well as my sons of what kind of woman they need to be, or what kind of adults they need to be, then I'm good. I'm not going to waste my energy. I always tell my kids, I've given you all the materials you need to build a house. You get to that point, you build your house and you can't live in it, that's not on me. I've done my job.
Earlier you touched on modeling behaviors. I think you alluded to some of what where I want to go in your answer just now. Are you concerned that they might end up in tumultuous relationships?
I am concerned.
Like the daughter hearing the baby mother reference that you said with the.
I myself pretty much raised myself. I know who both my parents are, and my parents were off and on as parents. So I've raised myself since maybe about 12, 13 years old. But at the same time, I grew up in an abusive household where my stepfather beat my mother. For me growing up, I always said that I would not be in an abusive relationship. But an abusive relationship to me was having somebody put their hands on me. Never, my ex-husband and nor current husband, I've never had a man raise his hand to me wanting to fight me. But there's other forms of abuse as well, things that I didn't recognize. So I even with my daughter and my son, because women hit too, I want them to know everything about a relationship. What's okay, what's not okay. It's not okay for a man to call you out your name. I tell my daughter all the time, these young guys nowadays, oh, this my shorty, this my little bitch. No, your name is Brittany. Your name is Brianna. That's not your name. Let's not do the nicknames until they get your name down first. But that's not acceptable.
Definitely.
So, I worry about them, but at the same time, it's a lot of conversations. And one of the things that I love with my husband, my honey, Wayne, he talks to them. He talks to my girls.
I was going to ask you what was the relationship.
Oh, he talks to them. Those are his daughters. He's always wanted daughters. He has his girls, and he talks to them. And he's constantly saying, from a man's point of view, don't no man want this kind of woman. Don't no man want that kind of woman. But at the same time, these are the type of men that you should be looking at. I understand your father was this, your father was that, but he's even pushed the relationship with their father, just
encouraged.
Yeah, he's encouraged
it. Doesn't benefit to belittle the guy.
He does. I mean, he can do that on his own, but he's encouraged it. And at the same time, I mean, he's always talking. He's talking to his sons, and he's talking to our daughters.
You have to do that with
him.
Him. So I have a question for you. You said your husband's name is Wayne?
Wayne.
Wayne. Is Wayne impressing on your daughters the importance of cooking?
My daughters can cook.
Good. They're on the marriage track.
That is his number one.
But my husband can cook as well.
Good.
There you go.
So
I can cook too. But I just need a woman to cook for me, because that is love to me.
That's one on his list.
LOVE.
My husband, he gets home early enough where he can throw dinner on. See, she said it's cooking. But he gets home early enough where he'll do dinner, or I may have to work late. I might just be home, and I'm always tired.
Girl, you hit the jackpot.
So, no. But
she did. Go ahead and put your hand up again.
Shout out to Wayne.
Yeah,
Wayne.
Shout out to Wayne.
Shout out to Wayne.
Shout out to Wayne.
Look, hey, listen. Wayne is the type of guy that used to be commonplace in our communities.
He was.
Because he stepped right in and took on the father role.
Exactly.
But it seems like you allowed him to, though, because that's the question I wanted to go to. And I was going to actually pose it at Polo first. Because how do you feel with your baby mothers, you guys get along well. So we touched on the social life aspect earlier.
Okay.
If they were to start dating, how do you feel about other guys, or do you trust their judgment to bringing other guys around the kids?
That's a great question for me, because two of my children's mothers are dating. One more serious than the other. I'm not taking this one guy all that serious yet. He hasn't. But this one guy, she's been with him for at least a few years now, and that's serious. And I actually have a strong opinion on that. Like I say, I hope he does right by her. You know, they've been going long enough that I'm looking for the ring. When you gonna do this, bro? Like, and that actually, you know, at some point, me and him need to have a conversation, because a commitment to my daughter's mom isn't just a commitment to her; it's a commitment to my daughter as well.
Is he spending time with your daughter?
As far as I know, yeah, because you know, I would say my daughter spends more time with her mom at this point, at this juncture. So he's definitely around her a lot. I mean, she, you know, I was with my daughter on this past weekend when I took her camping, and she was saying she had a bug bite on her ear, and she was saying, you know, I'm gonna say his name because it's not his whole name, but Larry bought my medicine for me. I said, well, tell him I said thank you. He doesn't have to do that. That's not his responsibility at all. I mean, if you know, I could be, you know, this petty guy and say, yo, you know, I call him out. Why didn't you call me? You know, I'm not that guy. You know, he's been around long enough that I'm sure he's established a relationship with my daughter. So, you know, like I said, once he makes it, I'm hoping he makes a commitment to her, you know, where, you know, whatever we had didn't work out and I wasn't able to do that. I don't necessarily want her to have to start over. They seem happy together, but a commitment to my daughter's mother is a commitment to my daughter. So, you're making a commitment to me too. So we need to have a conversation at some point. Like, yo, you're not gonna let this little girl down either. You know what I'm saying? I can be, you know, the father that I'm supposed to be, you know, when I'm around or when I'm available, or, you know, when that responsibility is on me. But, you know, y'all, all three of y'all live in a household together, you're an extension of me. You understand? So we need to all get on the same page, you know, and I'm cool with that. I'm happy, you know, if they have other relationships, that's fine with me.
As far as disciplining as well.
That's fine. I think that's a bridge that hasn't been crossed yet. And like I said, we have to have a conversation. So I at this juncture, I wouldn't be comfortable with
anybody.
Don't touch my daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't physically, but you know, hey, you're on punishment. Call me. Say, hey, look, this is what's going on in the household, especially if y'all have your own household. Yo, this is what's going on. She did this. And I expect that anyway. This is my child. She did something out of line. I need to know about it. You know? And if y'all say, you know, this is the punishment that's gonna come down on, okay, cool. That's fine. She can't use her phone, or, you know, she can't watch TV. Cool. Now I'm gonna have a problem if he, you know, chooses to put his hands on that. That's where the line is gonna be drawn. But this one, that's fine. But I expect all three of us to work together. I hope that's how it works out.
Right, because I see this actually quite often, where people are co-parenting, and or not. Like say the father is no longer in the picture, and they're dating a guy,
right?
And it's been serious, but yet they don't allow him to really have any say so.
Right.
I won't even say as far as disciplinary. So now he's just a mannequin. He's not a man. He's just around.
Right.
And as you stated very early on in the show, that kids are smart. And then you get a young boy, let's say, embarking on preteen, right? And he's starting to get a little wayward. And we all know how to manipulate our mothers.
Right.
But the man can't do anything as far as to pull him back. And he comes to a certain age where he needs only a man can pull him back.
Okay.
And there isn't one there. And then fast forward, now there's all types of problems in the young man's life.
Right.
Because once they get to be a certain age, like 15, 16, it's too late.
You know,
you don't feel it's too late? I feel it's hard to stop a kid at that age.
It's tough. And I've said this before, and I'm a product of it. You know, I didn't have a father around, and I didn't have a father figure around. So, but I grew up in a different type of era than what the kids are growing up in now. I grew up in the crack era. So I'm not going to tell you I lived in Beirut, but it wasn't the best situation. So to a degree, the streets raised us. You know, I wasn't running around with little tight pants and, you know what I'm saying? Like now, the kids are like kind of borderline and a little flamboyant, and that's not to disrespect anybody, but that's what it is. Like the lines have been blurred so much these days. So I grew up in a different era, but it's just different from when I came up, you know. So whereas I didn't have my father around, there's probably parts of, and y'all know me, y'all on the Facebook group with me. So I'm gonna say this, and whether y'all didn't notice before, maybe y'all pay attention to this now. Like I have to learn on my own to deal with my emotions as a man because I wasn't taught that. I wasn't taught by a man. You understand what I'm saying? I can only learn from what I saw my mother do.
But what does that mean? Deal with your emotions.
It's different for men and women. You know, women break down and cry, whereas traditionally men are strong. You're taught to kind of keep it in. You kind of taught to deal with it, whereas women are taught to, not taught, but you see that, you know, let it out, right? So whereas a man, and this is just me personally thinking, like, you know, you have an issue, you know, at a store and they giving you a hard time. You shouldn't lash out. Calmly talk. Look, this is what it is. My receipt is here. This is that and other. A lot of times, women have a tendency to get loud and create a scene. And I'm sorry, I don't want to disrespect y'all, but that's things that I've seen. Mm-hmm. So, but as a man myself, and I didn't have a father figure to watch how he handles these situations where people are. How about this? Even these times that we're living in now, where we're having these interactions with the police department.
See, but
I didn't have anybody to see, you know, how to handle it.
I think because of our era, the 80s era, I think that's the reason why a lot of men are so emotional nowadays. I actually find that men are more emotional nowadays than women are. Okay. And I think it plays a part of the fathers not being around or them not being able to see how men are supposed to be able to withhold, or is a man supposed to withhold feelings? Because I've heard that men shouldn't tell other boys not to cry. I heard you shouldn't tell a boy not to cry. Boys should. See, that's the thing. I don't know. You know. I've heard it both ways. Yeah. I've heard boys shouldn't cry, and I've heard you should let a boy cry. There's nothing wrong with a boy expressing his feelings. Yeah. So if you grow up to be this boy that's constantly being told boys don't cry, by the time I get you, you have no emotions. Like you're dead to the world. Nothing bothers you. You're cold-hearted.
Desensitized to everything.
Exactly.
I think that's an extreme though. Like,
but it's typical.
Maybe it is. I think that's an extreme.
It's more common than you think.
What I'm saying is, because I technically don't know how a man deals with this situation, or that's my bill. I have certain bills that are behind or get behind at certain time. I never saw my father with his bills behind. I mean, besides child support. I mean, but I didn't see him. I didn't see him not paying that. He was somewhere else. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know how he dealt with that. How he persevered through certain things.
But that's not to say his bills weren't behind, because I think good parents don't allow your children to see the troubles within the family. You know what I mean? I thought that you were supposed to shelter your child.
Not every child, but it's some things you have to.
Expose them to.
There's some things that
slowly
are for
but surely
adults,
they're not ready for it at certain
kids.
ages, but
I keep it real.
It's life, you know. You got to prepare them for life, because
you can't get these shoes because the lights got to be paid.
There's a lot of interesting data out there. I don't know where the data is mined from, but they get a lot of interesting data versus single parent household and 2-parent households, and it says that some leans toward that single parent household children develop early a sense of independence and self-reliance more than kids from 2-parent household. Now, kids from a 2-parent household, they thrive when there's order and structure around. Kids from a single-parent household a lot of times do well around chaos. They're not thrown off by it. They don't curl up in the shell and whatever.
And I disagree with that, because you see a lot of kids nowadays in school, the first thing we want to do is medicate them, and they grow up in chaos. They're not thriving.
Okay, that's another piece of data. Because the first thing they can do when there's I actually pulled up the information, but I don't want to read numbers to you guys unless you're interested. I doubt you are. That in single parent households, when they're headed that way, the system, rather than, because one parent is probably working, they're quicker to throw a kid into one of those classes when they don't need medication, throw medication upon them when it's not necessarily the answer, because the kid needs an advocate, but you have to put a roof over their head and you're busy working. So that there's like something ridiculous. Let me find that number if I can, but something ridiculous like 70% more likely to be put into those type of scenarios.
I was married to my first husband for 13 years and then with him even longer. I was a single parent household. The school never saw him. When he went to go I dropped my kids off in the morning, he picked them up, but he never went in the building. If they didn't come out, I was getting a phone call at work, calling to the school, telling people to get Brittany or Brianna out here. So I've heard the teachers say to me, well, I mean, I understand she doesn't have a father. Are you kidding me? I know her dad.
You've actually
He's outside?
heard the teachers say
He's
that.
outside. Yeah, they've said that to me. They didn't know I worked. I went to school. I had a teacher say, I understand it's difficult for you because their father forgot to give Brittany money to get home from school. Said, well, I understand it's difficult for you because it's the first of the month. What? Yeah, first of the month. My car note is due. My mortgage is due. I wish I got another check.
Where was these schools? For them to say that.
Cesar Chavez, public policy in Northeast.
That's a charter school.
It is.
Oh boy.
Right.
When they did see the father, they assumed that he had just came home from jail.
There are a ton.
Is it because that's probably typically what she sees? I mean, it was ignorant for her to say it, but it might be what she constantly sees on a day-to-day basis.
But also like education is driven by data. So once again, you don't know where the data is coming from. That's my only problem with any numbers is where is the sample size and where you're mining this data from. But they're gonna say this in this neighborhood is 90% chance of 90% single mothers, and they're gonna speak on that as if they have knowledge of it. You know,
and it might be true, but at the same time, that data
circumstance.
If that's what you see all the time, great. But children don't come with a handbook. They're not typical.
Nope.
Don't deal with my children as though they're typical. I worked. I went to school. But at the same time, if Brittany had a rugby game, I left work early. I bought a car big and I drove a Chrysler Pacifica so that I could take the team.
Right.
Whatever Brianna had going on, she had going on when she went to New Jersey for a conference for Positive Black Men. I took off. I was on the train. I stayed in the hotel. So I can be a single parent and do all of those things and still advocate for my children because I am a parent. Right. They didn't ask to be here.
Right.
You have to take care of, I'm a firm believer in taking care of what I've been blessed with.
Now your son,
Which one?
Oh, you have more than one. The one that from the first marriage.
Okay, Brian.
Is he currently, is your husband Wayne becoming the model for him?
Definitely.
Especially in this time. How old is he again?
He's 13. In
this time, seeing what's going on every day on the news and such and so forth and so on, and this is a very critical time in his life. You said your husband's about talking to him. Is he the one that's...
He talks to him all the time. Save your money. You have to, the whole thing with emotions. It's okay. You can cry, let it out. I mean, and I hope I'm not being offensive, but none of that sissy stuff. So if he's sitting, if he comes and he's sitting next to me and he's hugging up one boy, go play.
Hey,
stop babying. Traditional dad.
It's kind of
that's great.
So what?
Wonderful. We like Wayne.
When Polo was talking about the emotions thing, I took it in a different way. But the crying thing, I wasn't allowed to cry. So I haven't cried in over 30 years. And every man close to me has died. So like I wasn't allowed to do it to the point it shut off the tears.
I think a daughter, to an extent. I think only a daughter can make a man cry.
Now don't get me wrong, my emotions are there. And tears form, but they come up and they stop about.
You are so
no. You can feel it.
So you backed up.
Your nose start getting.
You backed up.
Yeah, but it just okay. So my uncle, my uncle, who's probably the last male, he said he was the same way. Then he hit about 50, and now he expresses everything through tears. So one day, the first time it hit him, he was driving in traffic, and he just cried. And now he cries when he's happy, sad, whatever. But when he spoke to emotions, I was looking at it not like a crying thing. Like when you're out there, you can't lose your head because if you look on the news, These guys lose their head and they're dead.
And they're dying.
One instant, you know? And so you have to always keep your wits about you and try to find the best way, especially when people are relying on you. Sometimes that might even mean, because a lot of times we're supposed to be here for women. Sometimes that might mean even swallowing a pride pill, which is tough. Tough to swallow as a man.
But even if
you have to think, you have to teach them to think big picture. And it's gonna be bumps in the road. So it's somewhat, you in life you need a manual. You know, we can't figure it all out ourselves. So it leads for a lot of bumps in the road.
I was told once, going back to where the step parent, even though you don't like to use that word step parent, where's their place in the child's life? I actually asked the guy that I was dating, as far as his children, where did he see me in their lives? And he honestly said nowhere. And I said, what do you mean? He said, because their mothers are in their lives and they have good mothers. So it's not really a need for you to be a part of the parenting, which kind of turned me off completely. And it turned me off. And I was thinking in a sense that if we're married and we're in a situation and you leave the children home with me, and I'm not to discipline, I'm not to parent, I'm not to do anything. And pretty much I'm a babysitter. That's pretty much what it is. You know, you go out, run the street, or go to work, because I don't date men to run the street, but you go into work, I'm sitting in the house watching your children.
And why not?
And that's
for free.
What? Why not what?
You don't date men that run the street.
At a minimum, at a minimum too. It sounds like you don't really have no say so. So you're there, but
he's changed his words since then. But initially, when we first had the first conversation, he said nowhere, and it was a complete turn off for me.
How early though was this into the relationship?
It was early enough where we're actually talking about going into a relationship. So it's just
that's early though. He might have been talking at the time, right?
So that's what men do? You just talk early on?
No, but you're talking
like, we're talking about your kids
how
now.
Early,
you should just
like say a few months into. You ask me where you see me with your kids.
6-7 months into.
When you see me with your kids, I don't see you nowhere.
But you still have to establish the expectation.
Right. Like if we're already talking about going into a relationship, and we're talking about you bringing you're actually putting your girlfriend with your children.
Right.
We're talking about it. Then I think that's when you need to be honest and say what you feel.
What would have been, that was honest, but I think it was at that time. I don't know him. I'm not going to defend him.
That's not to say it can't.
I'm not going to defend him.
You won't become more. He doesn't expect you to become more. You know, he's not watching.
Well, he's changed since then. But unfortunately, I can't.
I think it may have been just the way he phrased it.
Yeah.
You know, it might have been a little abrupt. You know where right now.
Yeah. And I said why? He said because their mothers are in their lives.
Right. And if you get married, you'd be mother. You'd be one of them.
But
you let
does
the
that
one
mean
get
you
away?
step up when their mothers aren't in their lives or something happens to their mother?
I mean, you were supposed to, but if he's telling you no, then you know it. Then no, they just didn't.
Okay, so on this co-parenting thing, I want to touch on. I want to ask Polo: do you ever see yourself, or are you interested in being married?
Man, that's a tough one. I often ask myself that question. And today's Thursday. Thursday's answer. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna lean towards no. As much as you say you disagree.
I disagree. I can see you being a husband.
I can see it too, but here's my thing, and it might go back to the fact that I didn't have a model in front of me, so I'm winging it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's days I'm like, I can't deal with this attitude. Like I kind of have this walk away type of. I have a walk away type of attitude. Me like, too. You know, me and you can be lovey-dovey all day, and then you do one thing, or we have a disagreement, and I'm like, this shit is stupid. All right.
I know, me too.
I distance myself. It might be a day, it might be 2, it might be a week, and being realistic, being an adult, I look at it and like, how the fuck am I gonna do that? And I'm married. I can't.
But once you decide on the wife, do you think you still have those feelings though?
I would hope once I get to that point. So I say Thursday, I'm not there. You know what I'm saying? Thursday, whatever day this is, I'm not there. Like I don't know how I'm gonna deal with it. I can't even. I sleep by myself, so I don't know how much. This times I sleep with other people. I'm like, man,
Get
my
used to
fucking
your
knee
one
hurting. I
arm is
can't
going
turn
dead.
over this way.
Cause they got no respect for that bed, boy. Your arm go
I'm
limp.
used to doing this and stretching this way.
But that hurts women more so than it hurts men, I think. Because I
What
think
does?
for being comfortable with being single for too long.
But the reason why I asked him that in reference to the co-parenting, because a lot of people get married with the hopes of having kids. Since you already accomplished that, you might not have the pressing urge to get married. So at least if you do get married, it'll probably be for the right reason.
Well, let's ask, you've been married twice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
you doing better. You're doing better than so many women.
Right.
They go look. Right. Hey, listen. We're gonna have Marlena just on the side, ladies and gentlemen, because we're approaching the end of the show. We're gonna have Marlena back to see what she did to get married twice. Some of y'all can't get nobody to take a knee unless they drop something in front of you. So anyway,
what was
go ahead,
it about you wanting to get married a second time? Being so you were married once, you had children. Like, what was it that drove you to get married a second time and co-parent once again?
Co-parenting was never an issue for me. Even dating and being with Jamal, that was never an issue. If I love this man, I'm automatically gonna love his son, regardless. As far as getting married again, it wasn't my idea initially. It was more Wayne's idea, and just him showing me that he could be that husband. And the second time, this was it for both of us.
He showed all of us. Good job, Wayne. Making it hard on a lot of us, but yeah, good job. Because I know I've seen a few ring posts. I don't understand what it is with the ring, but Jesus, I see now.
Yeah, that's all serious.
Right.
They hiring
Tiana want one.
They hiring down there.
Tiana take the ring. She don't even want the man.
You damn right. I'm just
no.
He talking trash.
No, you can have the ring. I'll keep the man.
Right. I know.
No, I don't have any use for the ring. It's Tiana who will need it. Before we end the show, I wanted to actually get Tiana's opinion because she feels strongly on this co-parenting situation.
Co-parenting is not for me.
But okay, so we're not qualified on that part as far as, but I wanted to know, did you come from a situation where co-parenting was
No,
involved?
I didn't come from a co-parenting situation. I came from a strictly single parent household, period. My mother was everything. She was the provider. She was the breadwinner. She was the mortgage payer. She was everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So which kind of, one thing I feel that, especially with women who grew up in single parent households, I believe that women who grow up in single parent households are more independent versus women who watch their father support their mother. I've never really had that type of support. I've always supported myself. I've never really depended on a man. Sometimes I think that hurts me a little because I've actually had guys be upset with me because I didn't ask for help. More, I've always, well, why didn't you tell me? Or why are you sitting over there not saying nothing? I hear that probably more often than not. But I can't help it. I am a true product of my environment. I am independent to the fullest. I bought my house at 29. I've been working since I was 16. I've been paying taxes. I've never, I've always worked. So those things that men do as far as being a provider, I grew up thinking, well, I'll do that for myself. I did grow up I did have that single woman, I'm going to be independent, probably when I was a teenager. It ended when I was about 23. So I will say that I did have a man that I depended on like in my 20s, but that was only because I was in a relationship. It wasn't because he was providing anything for me. So I think that's probably the reason why that I'm still single, because it just hasn't become a pressing issue. I'll be honest, sometimes I feel like the only reason why I want to get married is to have a child. Because I don't have a desire to be a single mother because I know how hard it was for my mother. But yeah.
So you want a situation, you want a co-parent situation in the house, though?
I do. I would prefer to be married. I do. I would prefer to be married before I have a child.
But it sounds like the other one didn't go bad, though, for you.
What do you mean?
The other situation, single parent one.
It didn't go bad in the sense that I know how to take care of myself. Like, right. I will be a good mate to my husband. You know what I mean? I'll be the woman.
I disagree with that
whatever.
part, but go ahead.
I'll be a good mate, meaning I'll know how to help pay bills. I'll know how to provide. I'll know how to
just give me the money. I can pay the bill.
Just get, well, it depends. I know situations where some other people's strong suit is paying the bills and some others is just going to work. I know a man who just goes to work and he gives his wife all the money and she pays all the bills. Which is
the best way to do it.
You know what I mean? You think that's the best way to do it?
I think it's easier. I think it's easier. I'm just not saying it's the best way. It's definitely easier. That's the way my father did it. Yeah, my mom. You know, they both work, but she handled the bill.
He said, as long as she give me lunch money, I'm good. Yeah. You know,
like who wants to fill their head up with every detail? So,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So
we're quickly running up on the end of the show. So before we sign off, I want to get final thoughts on co-parenting, and if you guys can give any tips, any words of wisdom.
Why me, Polo?
Because you got the best.
I'm being a gentleman. I'm trying to be a gentleman. I didn't learn to be a gentleman because I didn't have a father. Giving you the floor.
The best tips for it?
Yeah.
Only thing I can tell you is sit back and let it do what it do. You can't force it. No more than if they were your own children, or even if you're in another situation with another parent outside the home. It's kindergarten 101. You got to get along. It's simple as that.
For the benefit of the children.
For the benefit of the children. Yep.
I say, man, share your experiences. Share your experiences with your kids if you can. You know, every day, I have an 11-year-old, so every day is a new day with me having an 11-year-old. Mm-hmm. So when my 8-year-old gets to 11, I should have a little bit of experience, even though that'd be my first time with a daughter. But I share everything with them. I try to, you know, age appropriate. You know, I even stress to my daughter, you know, cleanliness. This is your body. This is yours. You know, you take care of it. You understand what I'm saying? So, and you know, I'm probably a horrible example of just watching me, but I can tell my son, yo, I don't want you out here making these kids. I don't want you to do what I did. Mm-hmm. Do it the right way. Stay in school, you know, go to college, you know, have your time, and then get married, things of that nature. So use your experiences, whether they're positive or negative. But, you know what I'm saying? Try to stress that any kids. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless. But, hey, if you're there, man, you know, try to stress something good, you know. Kick them the ass here and there.
All right. Final thoughts? You have anything?
Compromise. I think that's the biggest thing with co-parenting is you've got to learn how to compromise.
Okay, so hopefully this show was useful. We did learn a few things, and we know that Polo has a magic gift with women to keep 3. You actually did better than baby boy. Your baby mother didn't give you any trouble, so
yeah, I'm thankful. Hey, shout out to y'all though, man.
Right.
Chantel,
right.
Shout out to y'all, man, for not dragging me through the system, man. Thank y'all.
Right.
Appreciate it. Mom, hey, shout out to my mom, man. You were there. My father wasn't there.
Shout out to my mother as well.
Thank you.
Ultimately, the kids are the reason. So whatever you have to do, pride aside, all families, all matters. Like Marlena said to kick off the show, takes a village to raise a kid.
Thanks, Wayne.
Now we'll be back next week, y'all. We're signing out. This is He Say, She Say. I'm your man, Mark.
And this is Tiana.
Good night.
Good night.